off. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Welcome back, TTMTrades. Today we're just going to talk about the SPY and what I see moving forward, and we're going to get straight to the point and keep the video short. All right, we are on a short-term rally. The market is rallying. Yes, I get it. COVID-19 numbers and all of that, the data coming out, unemployment, so on and so forth, bearish sentiment. Why are we rallying? None of that matters, right? It matters to an extent, but what we want to do is we just want to follow the money. Right, we just follow the money, go with the trends, make money with everybody else, and then we pay attention to the news secondary. Okay, but the market is rallying. Okay, and it's not, I'm not saying it's going into a strong uptrend. Okay, because clearly we're not in a trend. It's a short bounce and a rally to the upside. Okay, now we can catch every single one of these little moves. Okay, and I've literally caught every single one of these moves, but I've shaken myself out of every single one of these moves, from 218 up to 262, from 262 down to 243, from 243 up to what I believe is we're going to push up to this 287 and 301, and then we'll see where we go from there. But the market is on a rally on an intraday basis. Okay, now looking at this, we're going to zoom into the 2-hour chart. And as you can see here on the 2-hour chart, which I use as a precursor to the overall trend of the daily chart and what is going on, you can see we're in a strong uptrend. As far as a 2-hour basis, we're on a strong uptrend. All right, PMO is very strong, crossed above both its averages. As you can see here, it's in positive territory. We're holding above the middle BB, and we're constantly making on an intraday basis a higher high, higher low than this last low, now another higher high. All right, and that's what we're going to continuously do until we push into those areas of resistance that we just talked about on the daily, sitting right around 287 and 301. I honestly think we're going to push up to 300, and then the market's going to consolidate sideways, and then we'll identify where we're going to go from there. Okay, but right now on an intraday basis, we're creating higher highs and higher lows. All right, and I think in this coming week, we're going to pull back again right around to the 259 to 260 area to create another higher low, and then we're going to rally up to that 287 to 300 point. Okay, now one chart I have been using to trade these entries and exits, which I've been getting myself shaken out of, is the 30-minute chart, and it does a very good job of pinpointing anytime there's a up-down fluctuation, as if the big picture is consolidating. As far as the daily chart and the weekly chart, I like to use the 30-minute chart. Anytime we're in just a strong trend on a day-to-day basis, I normally use the 2-hour chart to pinpoint my entries and exits, and then I hold my position for a little bit longer. But anytime we're consolidating like this, on this up and down swing like this, the 30-minute chart is very good to use for those swings. So moving forward, what is it that I see looking at the 30-minute chart? All right, so we go back to the daily. This 218 to 262 rally, you can see perfect on the 30-minute chart. So as we can see here on the 30-minute chart, started noticing the PMO was crossing up above both its averages, and it was beginning to create higher highs and higher lows, showing that the overall momentum was reversing. You got a higher high, higher high, higher high, and then finally you get the breakout into positive territory, right? So this was the first rally on strong momentum from that 218 to 262 wave. Now, I love using the PMO and the Bollinger Bandwidth to identify when trends are consolidating to possibly reverse, and know when to enter and exit my positions. It's common patterns that I look for. All right, so as you can see here on this rally, PMO had a strong breakout, as you can see here with the PMO kind of wide, and then it began to flatten out here, right? And this is what I talked about in my last video. I wasn't playing SPY, but I was playing Uber, and this is where we took puts. So once I noticed that the rally was flattening out on the PMO here in this area, then that let me know that the buying momentum was slowing down. Okay, so not only is the price action rallying, but I started to notice the PMO slow down, and then this rally of a breakout began to consolidate. Hence, the Bollinger Bandwidth is below its average, as you can see here. So not only do I have the overall momentum slowing down, but I also have a consolidation of this uptrend breakout. As you can see, it's no longer trending upward, but now it's moving sideways. Hence, the Bollinger Bandwidth and the bands beginning to constrict. All right, so if I have an uptrend pattern consolidating, the momentum is slowing down, and we can see that the volatility is low, then we know where there's low volatility, high volatility is soon to follow, right? So we took puts knowing that the momentum was slowing down and we was going to get a push to the downside. All right, so we got that breakdown to the downside. We pushed down to 243, as you can see here, that 243. This next rally from 243 to 278, took calls on, and again I shook myself out of this position, but same pattern, downward momentum, as you can see here. For the drop, low volatility, you finally get the high volatility breakout here with the downward momentum shifting, and then this downtrend begins to flatten out, showing that downward momentum has slowed down. Again, that downtrend is now consolidating, okay, which lets me know that the downtrend has slowed down, and now we could possibly be getting a shift back to the upside. All right, once I begin noticing my short-term averages, such as the RSI, is getting back above its short-term or long-term averages, those are precursors that let me know that we're going to break back out to the upside. So downtrend consolidating, momentum slowed down, pattern is consolidating. Again, where there's low volatility, high volatility follows, hence the breakdown. Low volatility, high volatility follows, hence the breakout. Okay, so now we get this breakout to the upside, which is what we're currently watching right now, from that 243 up to 278, 243, and we're currently running up to 278. All right, so what we're looking for here is I'm beginning to see the same pattern. All right, the 2-hour chart is very bullish. We're not going into a downtrend anytime soon. Okay, we're going to continue to rally to the upside, and I'm looking at that 300 area to see how the SPY reacts to that area. Okay, but right now the SPY, as you can see, that PMO is in a very strong uptrend, and it has not. It's in a bullish territory. It's above both its averages, and it's still trending strongly. So even going into next week on a day-to-day basis, we're going to push up into that 300 area. That's where the market wants to go. Okay, so again, on an intraday basis, I'm seeing this leg on the daily chart from 243 up to 278 begin to slow down, right? And we could probably get a last-minute exhausted push up to 287. I highly doubt we get an exhausted push up to 300, but we may get a last-minute push up to 287 before this rally fails. But what I'm beginning to see is what I saw here, and the same thing I always look for. This pattern is starting to top out, right? Again, we're still creating higher highs, higher low, higher high. So again, I'm looking for maybe a last-minute push up to 287 before this pattern exhausts out. But again, we're starting to see the PMO converge on top of its averages, showing that the momentum to this uptrend is starting to slow down. And now what we're starting to see is a consolidation pattern right here. As you can see, the Bollinger Bands are beginning to constrict around the price action. And give or take, this may take Friday or Monday to develop, but we're starting to see this leg up exhaust, and the bands beginning to constrict around the price action to show that this momentum is beginning to slow down. Hence, the PMO is starting to converge on top of its averages. So I'm looking for a possible pullback play here. All right. And what I'm looking for is going into next week, before we create our next leg up going up to 300, is I'm looking for a pullback back to the 150 period moving average, which is the 2-hour chart's middle Bollinger Band. If we zoom out to the 2-hour chart, it's sitting right here at 261. All right, so right around that 259 to 261 area, I'm looking for a short-term pullback, which the SPY needs to pull back. As you can see, it's getting oversold on the 30-minute chart. We get that pullback to 259 again. That'll cause the PMO to pull back down to a reset. That'll get us to breakout on the Bollinger Bandwidth. Once we get that pullback, we'll take that pullback to the downside, right around that 359 to 360 area, and take puts. And then once we get that Pullback, again, we'll look for the same consolidation pattern to where the pullback begins to slow down and consolidate. Once we see that that pullback is again slowing down and consolidating right around 150 period SMA, sitting right around 259 to 260, we'll take calls and we'll ride that back up to the upside to that 287, a possible 300 push. Now from there, that is where I want to begin to watch the 2-hour chart to see if it begins to, the PMO begins to flatten out to show that day-to-day trend is starting to weaken. But right now on a day-to-day basis, that trend is very strong because the 2-hour chart is showing a lot of strength, and the PMO is very strong. All right, so same thing here, just like on the downtrend, PMO was below its averages, long term and short term, was getting rejected. Right, any rally immediately came back down. All right, and now we're seeing that on the reverse side, which you have to adjust as a trader to what the price action is doing. And now we're seeing the PMO cross above both its averages back into bull territory. And now we're seeing the same thing we saw here on the downtrend, a rally with a pullback, another rally, get another pullback here with a possible rally, and then we'll go from there to see how the market reacts to that 300 price range that's sitting right here on the daily's 150 SMA. So that's how we're going to trade it moving forward. That 300 is a key area. Again, that's the weekly charts, middle Bollinger Band, and that's also reflected here on the daily's chart, 150 SMA, to give us a strong idea how we're positioned into the weekly chart. So again, we'll look for a pullback, take puts on that pullback, and once we pull back into this key area of support, we want to wait to see if that downward momentum consolidates first and slows down. We want the downward momentum on the pullback to slow down, as we see here in the PMO. On the last pullback, we want to see that downward momentum consolidates, and then we want to wait to see if we get a crossover for a breakout to the upside. All right, TTM Trades. Till next time, the SPY is going to 300. If you got any questions, hit me up in the Discord. I'm out.
Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.